Well, today, outside of federal court in Washington, D.C., we heard a line that we are going to hear from every one of Donald Trump's co-defendants and from Donald Trump himself if they are found guilty of the charges against them.
We knew going in what the verdict was going to be. That's why this is going to the appeals court.
We knew going in what the verdict would be. That's why it's going to the appeals court, is what Donald Trump will say in Georgia if he is found guilty there. That is what Donald Trump will say in Florida if he is found guilty on espionage and obstruction of justice charges. That's what Donald Trump will say in Manhattan if he's found guilty of falsifying business records. And that's what he will say on that same sidewalk in Washington, D.C., where Trump White House staffer Peter Navarro stood today saying exactly what Donald Trump will say if Donald Trump is found guilty in Jack Smith's prosecution in that same courthouse.
We knew going in what the verdict was going to be.
9 here. 4.
That's why this is going to the appeals court.
Peter Navarro was happy to talk about appealing his case today after he was quickly found guilty by a jury of contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with a subpoena issued by the January 6th committee. Peter Navarro had more to say on the sidewalk than he did in court. Peter Navarro was afraid to open his mouth in the courtroom. Peter Navarro could have taken the witness stand and testified in his own defense under oath, but instead he dared not speak a word. Peter Navarro is the second Trump associate to be found guilty in that courthouse for crimes involving Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the presidential election, the same courthouse where Jack Smith will try Donald Trump for those crimes. Trump associate Steve Bannon was found guilty of the same charge Peter Navarro was found guilty of today in that same courthouse and is now awaiting the outcome of his appeal. Think about this. Federal prosecutors who have prosecuted associates of Donald Trump have achieved so far a perfect record of guilty verdicts. If you're a Trump co-defendant tonight in Georgia or Florida and you think you're going to be the first Trump associate in history to be found not guilty in a criminal trial, you might want to think about that a little more. One of Donald Trump's co-defendants in Florida, Walt Nauta, is represented by the same criminal defense lawyer, Stanley Woodward, who managed to get a guilty verdict for his client, Peter Navarro, today in Washington. Stanley Woodward called